It's okay, Steven. It's all right. It's okay. I got your back, brother. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, man. Y'all I be shady when y'all doing Steven. Let's get right to it. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. What's happening, YouTube? It's Hush Boy, and you tuned in to Hush Boy Sports. Now, I'm sure you've heard by now that the OKC Thunder have made Steven Adams, Andre Roberson, and Dennis Schroeder available for trade. When I first heard this news, I couldn't believe it. And y'all stayed on me in the comments, telling me I need to look into this. And I would like to thank y'all for that. Y'all are the viewing audience, and I'm here for you. Don't be afraid to tell me what you want so I can give it to you. So my journey began searching the deepest corners of the World Wide Web, and what I found, some pretty wild receipts. And I must warn you before I start this video, it's gonna be a lot of information in here, a whole lot of legal mumbo jumbo, definitions and stuff. It can get confusing. I'm gonna try to explain this stuff the best way I can. In order to understand the Steven trade situation, you must first understand these three things: the salary cap, the luxury tax, and OKC's trouble with the two. But before I start this video, make sure you hit the like button for your boy, man. Show me some love. And while you at it, you might well go ahead and subscribe to me too, man, because as you can see, I'm working. And also, shout out to this guy right here, man, for telling me your mic might need a little work. So I just went back to the old mic. But shout out to you, man. You the real MVP. And without further ado, let's begin this wild journey. First, let's discuss the salary cap. A salary cap is a limit that each team can spend on its players' contracts, which helps maintain balance. Without a salary cap, teams with deeper pockets can simply outbid the competition and get all the better free agents. There are two types of salary caps: a hard salary cap and a soft salary cap. Hard salary caps forbid teams from going above the salary cap at all. The NBA uses the soft salary cap, which allows them to sign players and exceed the salary cap under certain conditions. The soft cap allows teams to retain their players by offering them satisfactory contracts to compete with other contracts coming from other teams during free agency. The salary cap is a number that is determined by the collective bargaining agreement, better known as the CBA. The salary cap is calculated based on the projected amounts of basketball-related income. This includes things like ticket sales, parking, team sponsorships, concession stand sales, broadcasting rights, proceeds from gambling on NBA games, and much, much more. The salary cap calculation takes 44.74% of the projected basketball-related income, subtracts projected benefits, and divides by the number of teams in the league. And that number is each team's salary cap. And remember, it's a soft cap, so teams can go over it. And most teams are over the salary cap during the season. But teams don't want to go too high over the salary cap, because if they do, they face the second point of this video: a luxury tax. The luxury tax is a mechanism that controls team spending, and it's something all NBA teams try to avoid. Teams have to pay this tax if their team's salary exceeds a predetermined tax level, and teams pay a penalty for each dollar that their team salary exceeds the tax level. The tax level is determined using the same formula as the salary cap, but with a different variable. The tax level is calculated by taking 53.1% of the projected basketball-related income, subtracting projected benefits, and dividing by the number of teams in the league. Teams pay this tax on an incremental tax rate system, and this system is nothing to play with. They coming for them pockets. And it's all based on the team's salary after they play their final game, and whether or not the team is a repeat tax offender. You really don't want to be a repeat offender. A repeat offender are those teams who've had to pay the luxury tax in at least 3 of the 4 previous seasons. Let me show you some charts and give you a visual, because we all know I can show you better than I can tell you. Wham! Now take your time looking at this chart. Now take your time, listen to me closely. I'm going to try to break it all the way down to you like a fraction. This right here, this is the amount that the team is above the tax level. This right here. This is for non-repeat offenders. This is for repeat offenders. Walk with me. From $0 to right under $5 million over the tax level. Their tax rate is $1.50. But a repeat offender's tax rate is $2.50. From $5 million to right under $10 million over the tax level, the tax rate is $1.75. For a repeat offender, $2.75. $10 million to right under $15 million, $2.50. Repeat offender, $3.50. $15 million to right under $20 million over the tax level, $3.25. Repeat offender, $4.25. And this is for every dollar that they're over the tax level. It can add up real quick. $20 million and above over the tax level, $3.75. And it increases 50 cents for each additional $5 million. Repeat offender, $4.75 for each dollar. Now that I showed you that, let me show you this. Wham! Take a look at this chart right here. It shows you how much tax would a team pay. And it has some examples right here. Let's say a team is $1 million over the tax threshold. Non-repeat offenders will have to pay $1.5 million in taxes. Repeat offenders, $2.5 million. $2 million over the tax level. Non-repeat offenders, $3 million in taxes. Repeat offenders, $5 million in taxes. And so on and so on. Look how these numbers can get crazy. That's a lot of money. Let's go up to these stupid numbers and take a look at them. Let's say a team is $38 million over the tax level. Regular offenders, that would be $140 million in taxes. Repeat offenders, $178 million in taxes on top of your team's salary that you're paying them. This is extra coming out of the owner's pockets. Good God. So now do you see why NBA teams try their best to avoid paying the luxury tax? And hopefully you understand all that number talk. I barely understood it. I still really don't understand it now. I just know that the luxury tax is something that you don't want to pay. And finally, let's talk about OKC salary cap and luxury tax problems. First off, the Thunder are repeat luxury tax offenders. And you remember what I said about being a repeat offender. The Thunder paid luxury taxes for the 2014-15 season, the 2015-16 season, the 2017-18 season, and last season. Only 5 teams had to pay the luxury tax this past season. And guess who had the highest bill of them all? That's right, the Thunder had the highest luxury tax bill last year when they had to pay $61.6 million. But that's actually a good thing, because last year, instead of having to pay $61 million in luxury taxes, the Thunder were in danger of making history and being the first NBA team ever to pay $300 million in team salary and luxury tax. $150 million in taxes. OKC used the stretch provision in the final year of Kyle Singler's contract and saved the Thunder $23.4 million in salary and luxury tax last year. Also, when Melo was traded to the Hawks for Dennis Schroeder, that saved the Thunder $70 million in luxury tax. Even though the Thunder were able to get rid of those 2 contracts, they are still well above the tax level. Even though the salary cap and the tax threshold won't be officially released until July the 1st, my boy Shams tweeted this out last year. The NBA informed teams that the projected salary cap is going to be $109 million. And the tax level is going to be $132 million for the 2019-2020 season. So that means right now the OKC Thunder are $16.6 million over the luxury tax threshold, which will lead to a $50.4 million luxury tax bill. The Thunder have until the end of the upcoming season to get under the tax threshold. The Thunder are all in on Russ and PG. Their combined salaries for next season will be $71 million. So the Thunder have to get rid of Steven, Andre, and Dennis. They simply can't afford to pay them all. OKC wants to win, no doubt, but their main concern right now is to get under the tax level threshold. The Thunder have had 3 consecutive first-round playoff exits, but they have the 3rd highest team salary in the NBA. OKC is projected to pay its players $148.5 million. And that's without mentioning the possibility of re-signing Raymond Felton, Nerlens Noel, and Markieff Morris in free agency. And the Thunder only have 11 players under contract for next season. So the tax bill can get even higher due to the fact that each team must have a minimum of 13 players. Now, if you're still here watching this video, give yourselves a round of applause, because you sat through a whole lot of information. And I hope I presented this information to you in a way that you've been able to process it. But this next receipt I'm going to give you is so crazy that it might just be the craziest thing I done found since I've been looking for receipts. I couldn't believe it. It really showed me how much money the Thunder are losing. Are you ready for this? Ready or not, here it go right here. Wham! Forbes has a list of all the NBA franchises, and they rank them according to their value. The Thunder are ranked number 18 on the list, which is in the bottom half, but it ain't bad. But what is bad is this. If you take a closer look at the numbers, according to the Forbes, OKC as a franchise had the 2nd worst year financially, only making $10 million in operating income. Operating income is income before taxes. The only team to finish worse than OKC was the Cleveland Cavaliers, whose operating income was negative $13 million. Now, that's expected from the Cavs since they lost LeBron James. But that shouldn't be the case for the Thunder, right? They're one of the more popular teams. They sell out every home game, right? The jersey selling. But that is the case for the OKC Thunder. Even other teams on the list that had to pay the luxury tax this past season, they had better years financially than the Thunder. The Warriors, the Raptors, the Trailblazers, the team that put us out in the first round, the Celtics. The majority of the other NBA teams had pretty decent years financially, except for the Thunder and the Cavs. And when I mean everybody, I mean everybody. The least valued team in the NBA is the Memphis Grizzlies. And even they made more money last year than the Thunder. So did the Pelicans. And the Hornets too. And the Timberwolves. All these teams didn't even make the playoffs. But they made more money. I can't make this up. Don't get mad at me. This come from Forbes. How scary would that receipt be if you're the owner of the Thunder? How are they losing money like this? It has to be the luxury tax. The OKC owners do not want to have to pay a repeat offender luxury tax payment again, and I don't blame them. The only way to avoid paying another luxury tax is to cut some contracts. It's just the way things go. I've said this time after time. At the end of the day, the NBA is a business. Steven Adams will make $25 million next year. Dennis, $15 million. And Andre, $10 million. That's $50 million in salary. And if the Thunder can get from under those 3 contracts, that will put them under the salary cap and avoid those harsh repeat offender taxes. Then they can make some moves in free agency and build around Russ and PG and hope that the young talent continues to develop. I'm sure the Thunder don't want to trade Steven, but at this point they really have no choice. OKC has until the end of the 2020 season to get the team salary under the luxury tax threshold, or they're going to pay a huge luxury tax again. The only thing that would deter other teams from picking up Steven is that he's owed $25 million next year. But Steven's not a scrub. He's not a bench player. Some teams out there could really use a starting center. Some of the teams I've heard mentioned, rumor alert, that could be interested in trading for Steven are the Celtics, the Pacers, the Mavs, and the Spurs. I wouldn't mind seeing Steven play for any one of those squads. And I can't judge OKC for wanting to trade Steven. We're talking about millions of dollars, people. If the Thunder were winning and going deep into the playoffs, maybe things would be different. If OKC wasn't a small market team, maybe things would be different. But that's not the case. If was a fifth, we'd all be drunk right now. The reality is that the Thunder are not making as much money as they should be. And in my opinion, it's simply because of the luxury taxes that they're having to pay year after year. It's all about the money. Always has been, and it always will be. And if Steven gets traded, I'm going to be mad. I'm going to rant. I'm going to rave. I'm going to act a fool. I'll even be sad for a couple days. But it's not going to be the end of the world. I will just have to accept it and move on. It's just how things go in the NBA. You seen what happened to DeRozan last season, right? It's a cold game. But guess what? Steven will still get his money that he's owed. And he'll move on to another team and continue to be a beast. And guess what? Wherever Steven go, I'm going to. But it don't matter what I think about this situation. What do you think about this whole Steven trade situation? Do you think the Thunder are wrong for trying to trade Steven? Will you remain Thunder fans, or will you follow Steven if he's traded? You let me know in the comments below. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. And if you want some of that sweet Hush Boy gear, like this shirt right here or this shirt right here, make sure you go to hushboysports.com and go and get you one. But in the meantime, in between time, y'all be cool like y'all be cool, man. This is Hush Boy, and I'm out this thing, man. Yonder.